Hey, how's it going, do-it-yourselfers? Today I'm going to show you how you can get rid of scratches and scuff marks on your car without the use of a polisher. Or any other power tools for that matter. So in so many words, I'm going to show you how you can remove scratches and scuff marks by hand. And the scratches we're going to take out today are going to be these two scratches that we have on this left side fender. Alright, so here's a closer shot. And as you can see, each scratch is about 2 or 3 inches long. Now before we go any further, if you see any tools or products used in this video that pique your interest, I'll put links to where you can buy them for cheap online down below in the description box, so don't be afraid to click on them and check them out. Now you gotta keep in mind, the only scratches on your car that you can remove with the polisher or the method that I'm about to show you are the scratches that are in your clear coat and that have not gone through the clear coat to your base coat or primer. Now if you're not sure what clear coat, base coat or primer is and how it relates to this repair, well, allow me to explain it for you. Alright, so fresh out of the factory, all the panels on your car are going to be completely bare. Now in order to protect these panels against rust and corrosion, they're usually sprayed with some combination of a primer and a sealer. Next, after the primer, the base coat is sprayed over your panel. Base coat being the coat that gives your car its color. And between all the different coats that's sprayed on your car, the base coat is going to be the thinnest coat that's sprayed on your panels. And after your base coat, clear coat is sprayed over it in order to protect it against corrosion and sun damage, but also to give your car that nice shiny gloss. Now your clear coat, being the thickest coat that's sprayed on your panels, not only protects your base coat against sun damage and corrosion, but it also protects it against light scratches and scuff marks. And an example of a light scratch or a clear coat scratch is a scratch that looks like this, or in other words, a scratch that didn't go all the way through your clear coat to your base coat or primer. So let me show you an example of those scratches on this car, of which there are plenty. So here's one right on the top edge of this driver's side door. You can actually see that the top two coats, the clear coat and the base coat, has been chipped off of this panel, and we're actually down to the primer. Or in fact, this might be bare plastic since these panels on this car are made out of plastic. Or these scratches on the rear bumper. And a dead giveaway that a scratch has gone through your clear coat is if you can easily catch it with your fingernails. Now some people say that you can also pour some water over the scratch, and if you can't see the scratch after you pour water over it, that means that it's a clear coat scratch and that it can be polished out. But that's not always the case, as you can hopefully see here. So you can still clearly see the scratch through the water. Yet I'm certain that this is only a clear coat scratch and that we can remove it by hand, as you're about to see. Now before I show you how you can fix and remove scratches, let me show you a couple of tricks that you can use to hide scratches. See, the reason that you can see clear coat scratches is because of the way that it reflects light. See, when light hits the inside of the scratch, it bounces off the edges and it goes in every which direction. Whereas normally on the surface of the clear coat, it has a much smoother reflection. So if we can fill in the scratch with some type of liquid or substance that's both clear and glossy, we can reflect light smoothly again and therefore hide our scratch. And one of the things that fits that description is some good old WD-40. Alright, let's give it a shot. Then let's spread it around with a microfiber towel. Now I'm not sure how well you guys are going to be able to see this, but it didn't work too good on the top scratch, but the bottom one is pretty much gone. While we're at it, let's give it another shot on these even lighter scratches that are on the hood. First, we'll give them a quick spray, then spread it around, and look at that, scratches are gone. Well, actually they're not gone, we just can't see them anymore. Now something else besides WD-40 that you can use, which is also a big secret in the automotive detailing industry. It's what they call in the Automotive Detailing Secret Society, car wax. Now in all honesty, car wax doesn't work as well as WD-40 when it comes to deeper scratches in the clear coat, but it works fairly well against light scuff marks, as you see here near this headlight. Those I believe are sand scratches from when the previous owner was trying to restore the headlight on this car. And the way this magic stuff works is first, you obviously want to make sure you have a clean panel, then you use your applicator to spread the wax around your panel like this. You also want to make sure you're doing this on a cool panel. And next, you want to let it sit for about 5 minutes. Next, you want to grab yourself a clean microfiber towel and wipe down the area. And now, as you can hopefully see, we got quite a bit of improvement You can still see some of the scuff marks, but overall, it's a lot better. Now something you gotta keep in mind is that both of these are temporary. WD-40 will come off your car next time you take it to the car wash, and wax will also come off. It'll take a bit longer, but still, neither of these things are fixes. And I almost forgot the most important trick. The most effective way that you can keep people from seeing the scratches on your car when you're trying to sell your car is to distract them with the puppy. I ain't got a scratch on my car. Look at the puppy. Yeah, no one's gonna think about scratches when you show them one of these, especially when you tell them it comes with the car. Last I checked, these are free at the shelter. You can get them for free at the shelter, use them to sell cars, be a millionaire in no time. Keep that up, we'll be president one day. All right, enough of that. Now let me show you how you can actually fix instead of hide this scratch. So first thing you want to do is to completely wash down your panel, and since we just sprayed WD-40 on this panel, that's exactly what we're going to do. What you want to do is to grab yourself a clean bucket of water, pour in some car wash soap, and then by using a clean microfiber sponge, we're going to completely wash down our panel. Next we'll grab another clean bucket of water, and once again, using a clean microfiber sponge, we'll thoroughly rinse down our panel. Alright, next we're going to wet sand the scratched areas. But before we do that, and especially if you're doing this for the first time, you should grab yourself some masking tape and mask around the scratched areas. And by doing this, we're basically limiting the repair area to the small space that you can see here. If you don't mask around your repair area, the repair area could expand in the next few steps, and then a job that should take only 10 minutes is going to take you maybe double or triple that amount. Alright, next you want to grab yourself a soft sanding block, and then using some 1500 grit sandpaper, sand down the scratched areas. So you obviously want to wrap this around your sanding block like this, and then by using the edge of our sanding block, we're going to try to sand down our scratched areas. And this is why you need to use a soft sanding block. As you can see, these scratches are in a curved area, and if you use a hard sanding block, there's a bigger chance that you might go through the clear coat and damage something. So again, use a soft sanding block. Now, of course, if you're dealing with deeper scratches and you need to apply more force, you can just tilt the sanding block to its side and do it with the flat side to put more pressure and be able to cut more. Alright, so here's how things look after sanding down with 1500 grit sandpaper. And as you can see, you can't really tell where the scratches were, but there is a small little chip that has gone through the clear coat, and we're simply not going to be able to sand that out with 1500 grit sandpaper. So what we want to do is to remove our pieces of tape, and we want to move everything back about ½ an inch. And by doing so, we slightly grow our repair area, but we ensure that in the next step, we're going to go over all of the 1500 grit scratches that we just put on here. Alright, so next we'll grab ourselves some 2000 grit sandpaper. And once again, using our soft sanding block, we're going to make sure we go over all our 1500 grit sand scratches. And here's how our repair area looks after sanding down with 2000 grit sandpaper. I know I said I was going to wet sand the area, but since this is actually a pretty small area on this fender, I decided not to wet sand and just dry sand. But if you're working on a larger scratched area, go ahead and wet sand. And for people that don't know what wet sanding is, it's basically when you use some water on your sandpaper while you're sanding down an area. Simple as that. Alright, so what we've done so far is to first use 1500 grit sandpaper to cut down on our clear coat to below where the scratch was. But then the surface of our clear coat looks something like this because 1500 grit sandpaper puts scratches of its own on the clear coat. So what we did next was to cut that down and replace it with 2000 grit sand scratches, which is a lot finer. And if you don't know, sandpaper gets finer the higher the number goes. Now we could keep going to finer and finer grit sandpaper, like 3000 and then from there to 5000, but I find that to be overkill, especially if you're working on a small area. Now since these sand scratches make our finish look dull, the next step is to polish the area to bring back the shine. And when you polish this surface, you're basically replacing these sand scratches with a fairly flat surface that reflects light smoothly again, which gives your car that shiny look. Now in order to polish your car's paint, usually a rotary polisher that you see here or a dual action polisher, aka Random Orbital Polisher, is used. But since we're assuming we don't have access to either one of those, we're simply going to use a microfiber towel. And yes, make sure it's a microfiber towel and not a cotton towel. Make sure you remove the tag from these towels, because this could put scratches or swirls in your clear coat. As far as what kind of compound you can use, well, since we got it up to 2000 grit, which is fairly fine, you can use any cutting compound or polishing compound. But if you can help it, you should go with a high grit cutting compound, which is what I have here, because since we're polishing by hand, this will make our life a lot easier. So next we'll remove the tape from around our repair area. And next you want to clean the repair area with some water. And next you'll get some rubbing compound on your microfiber towel. And then simply start buffing out the area by hand. And you are going to need to put some elbow grease into this. Again, if you don't know what elbow grease is, I'll put links in the description. And here's how it looks like after our first pass. And as you can see, it looks a lot better towards the bottom of the repair area. But still, we're going to do this a couple more times to be able to completely polish this. And after our third pass, our repair area is completely polished. And I can't even tell where exactly the repair area was right now. Yeah, as you remember, the scratches were right there, but not a trace of them left now. And this method is actually the same method that detailers use to wet sand and polish around sharp edges or the body lines that you might have on your car. What they do is wet sand the panel all the way to the edge. Then they use some 1/2-inch masking tape to mask the edge. Then they grab a polisher and polish down the entire panel all the way to the masked areas. Then they remove the tape and use the microfiber with some rubbing compound to polish the edge. They do this so they don't burn through the clear coat and paint on the edges. Because if they don't, as this polisher turns, and if it catches around the edges, it's going to create a lot of friction and heat and burn right through the paint. And after you get rid of the scratches on your car, now it's the perfect time to put some car wax on your car. This not only protects it against sun damage, but it also provides some protection against minor scratches and scuff marks. Now if you have deep scratches and scuff marks on one of your panels, like the ones you see on the screen right now, that have clearly gone through the clear coat and have damaged your base coat or primer, then fear none, because I have a video showing you how you can do an amazing paint job on a car using nothing but rattle cans. And if you want to watch that video, I put a link to it right here on this side of the screen that you can click on. There will also be links down in the description box down below as well. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.